Hello.
Sir, visible, sir.
Okay. So I have logged into the Azure portal. So here you are able to see Azure services. So we'll be having a lot of services, right, in Azure. So we'll deal with only few services like Databricks and blob storages and creating this Azure Data Factory. Only few functionalities of Azure we'll deal with as a data engineer. But it have a lot of other services also. So first we'll create a resource. So here we'll search for Databricks. So first we'll create the resource. So before creating the Databricks, first I'll create the resource group. So what is a resource group? Do you remember? We have discussed that one. What is a resource group? So this is Azure resource group. It contains different kind of resources like virtual machines, databases, storages, everything. So this is the Azure resource group. So first we'll create the resource group. So here I'll give I'm creating for Databricks, right? Databricks resource group. So here I'll give one. I have created a Databricks resource group. Here just I'll next. All these are optional. We'll just create the resource group. So resource group is created. What is the name given for resource group? Databricks-RG. RG stands for resource group. So I have created the resource group. Go to the resource group. Here once you open, we can see that resource group with a different kind of options. So for now, we don't need to handle with these operations. I have just created the resource group. Now I will go to the home page again. Now I will click on the create a resource. Here we'll search for Databricks. Azure Databricks. So if you see, this is the logo of Databricks, right? We have already seen. Here we'll click on this Azure Databricks. So this is a Azure Databricks page. So we have discussed, right? They have given some basic images, Azure Databricks. Here we'll be having overview and different plans. So based on our subscription, we'll be having different features. Okay, and usage and information plus support. So these are the usage details, product ID, plan ID. We just don't need to bother any of these details. Just we should understand whether what are these existing in the Azure Databricks. These are the ratings and reviews present in the Databricks. So here, if you go to the overview, this is just clear information about the Databricks. What is Databricks? How we can work with it. See, fast and easy collaborative Apache Spark based analytics platform. So just high level information about the Azure Databricks. Okay, in the overview. So now we'll create the Databricks platform. We'll click on create. So here, this will be by default selection our subscription, and it will ask for resource group. Resource group is mandatory for the Azure Databricks creation. So here, as we created one Databricks, right? Databricks RG. I'll select the Databricks RG and workspace. So we discussed, right? We have to create one workspace. So this workspace contains everything like notebooks and clusters, jobs. So this is the Databricks workspace. So first we have to create the workspace. Then only we can work with clusters or notebooks or jobs, everything, data, everything. So for that, to work with these features, we have to create the workspace. So for that purpose, I'll create one workspace so. I'll give the workspace name. So we'll give Databricks-WS. So the Databricks RG is for resource group and WS is for workspace. This is our user-friendly name. We can give anything here. And region is by selected default. Pricing tab. As our membership is standard, by default we got the standard. If you have premium, we can select premium and other features also. So our subscription is a standard subscription. So here this field is optional. Next, All other fields are optional. It will be selected by default. You don't need to bother anything. Security and labs, and this is also optional. So here, once we come to this page, okay. So once we'll get a message like once we complete all these steps, once we go to review plus create, when we are coming from tags to review and create, all the fields present inside the basics will be validated. So once all these fields are validated, we'll see a message. So here when we come here, these basic fields along with all these menu options will be validated, and we'll be able to see validation succeeded message. So if you miss any fields in the basics which are mandatory, it will show error message respective to that field. Okay. So as I have given all the mandatory fields, I am able to see the validation succeeded message. So here if you see basics, what we have given Databricks workspace. So we have to check this again before proceeding for create. I have given my workspace name as Databricks workspace, subscription Azure subscription, resource group. These are mandatory. We have to go through every fields here once before we create the Databricks. So I have selected my resource group as Databricks Azure, which we created a few minutes ago, and region is East US, pricing tier is standard. So all these are optional. We have skipped everything. Now I'll click on create. So this will take some time. So because this contains clusters and everything, right? Clusters, notebooks. So it will contain a lot of sources. So deployment is in progress. Once it is completed, it will display deployment is completed. You have to wait for that. So here if you see Databricks workspaces, still it is in progress. We'll wait for that. It will take some time. So here again it is displaying these few details, right? Deployment name is our resource group name concatenated with the workspace name. Okay. Here also Databricks resource group and workspace name both are concatenated using underscore, and subscription it is displaying, resource group it is displaying. It will take time because so it has to create all this, right? Different types of clusters, notebooks. So it will integrate all these fields. Once the deployment is completed, we should be able to see a button called launch workspace. So once it is created, we can launch that workspace. Launch means it will open that workspace. We'll redirect to a different page. We'll wait for it to complete. So this might take like around 5 to 15 minutes. It's an average time. Yeah, so now so deployment is done and the workspace is created. So here now we'll go to home. Here if you see here Databricks workspace is created. We'll open that. So this is my workspace. So again these are different menu options. First we'll go to the launching this workspace. So this is a workspace. In this we'll be having launch button, launch workspace. So when you click on this, see here if you see we are able to see essential details like status is active, resource group we have mentioned it, location we have selected East US, subscription is Azure subscription one, it will be having a unique ID, and we'll have the price tiering price tiering URL, managed resource group, everything. So now I'll click on the launch workspace. So when you hit on the launch workspace, it will open, this workspace will be opened into a new tab. So this is the account I'm accessing now. So here if you see I have opened the Databricks workspace. So here this is my Databricks hyphen workspace. This is the name I have given. We are able to see the workspace name here. Okay. Now these are the options present inside this. So this is the workspace. What are the recents we have worked with? If you click on any, you create any jobs or pipelines or you create any cluster, those will be seen in the recents, like what are the recent activities. So catalog jobs and pipelines. So the last one is AML, we doesn't deal with this. So the major thing we deal with is this workspace only. So first to handle with workspace, if you click on this new, we have an option called new, right? So when you hit on this new, we'll get the option for creating the notebook. This is the notebook that we are discussing on previous class. The Jupyter notebook where we can write SQL code, Scala code, Java, Python codes, those kind of codes, job and experiments, model app. So we deal with majorly notebook. Okay. So here we have one more option called more. In this more, if you see, we have an option called cluster. Okay. So we have to create a cluster to execute any program in the notebook. Okay. To execute any code inside the notebook, we have to create a cluster. Why? Because to execute a program, we should be having one processor, right? Our processor is nothing but cluster. Cluster is a group of processors. It may be called as group of virtual machines or processors. So first we'll create a cluster. I'll hit on the cluster. And here one more option is cluster we can create by clicking on new, more and selecting cluster, or if you click on compute, this compute is nothing but cluster again. So by clicking on compute also we'll redirect to the same page. So create a new compute. Here compute is nothing but cluster. Okay. So cluster, here if you see the name is by default given computer name, and policy unrestricted, this is defaultly selected, and we are not using for machine learning, so it will be unchecked, and Databricks runtime. So we'll be having we need to select one runtime for Databricks. This is the version name, 15.4 is the Databricks version. LTS is long time support. So for they will provide some long-term support, they will provide some updates in the cluster. If you have any updates or any patches, any issues, existing issues, that will be fixed. So like that, they will provide some long-term support. Here if you hit, we will be having different kind of versions. So by default, it will select some standard version, which is a stable one. Okay. So this one, next. So we deal with worker type. So here, and worker type is the processor we have to select. So here if you see by default 16 GB memory, 4 cores. Okay. If you see here we'll be having different processors, general purpose processors, the HDD. This is a basic general purpose, and here if you see delta cache accelerated HDD, and one more is memory optimized. Memory optimized also we have delta cache accelerated and basic one. So we will be having different kind of processors, that is worker type. Okay, worker type is nothing but the processor. So I'll show about this one. So here if you see worker types in Databricks. So worker type refers to the virtual machine, nothing but processor. Okay, each worker node processor takes like reading task, right? Reading data, transformations and computations. So a processor is responsible for performing any operations, right? That is mentioned here. So worker node means the worker type or virtual machine. Okay. So choosing the right worker type affects the cost, speed and job success. How that is accessed? Because see here, if you select 16 GB 4 core, it will cost some charges, right? But if you select 128 GB memory, it will cost more compared to this, because 128 GB memory is very high compared to 16 GB, right? So they will charge more. So if you select 128 GB for a smaller task, you will lose your money, because if that is not doesn't needed for small amount of tasks. So based on your selection, you will be charged. Okay. So here selection of this worker type decides the cost, speed and job success. Okay. How job success is? Like that can be defined as, I have a huge task, but I will select only 16 GB memory. Means it will not work properly, right? It will delay the task. In that way, like your job will not be successful. So this selection is highly mandatory. Like based on your task, you have to select the proper one which is suitable for you. If you have terabytes of data, you need to select at least 128 GB or 64 GB memory. Okay, and which one to select? Should I select general purpose or should I select memory optimized? So how to decide that? So for that we will be having, see here, how to select a worker type. If your job type is, if you are working with ETL jobs, you have to select the optimized types. If you are working with machine learning or analytics, you have to select memory optimized. So mostly we will work with ETL jobs, right? So if you are working with ETL jobs, we will select the optimized types. Okay. So here memory optimized, storage optimized. So we'll be having few other options also. Generally for ETL operations, we'll select any of the optimized types, compute optimized types. And for heavy input output operations, we'll use storage optimized. So based on our task, we'll select the respective job types. Okay, and based on our data size also. If you are here, if you see, if you are dealing with less than 10 GB small machines like DS3, if you are working with a medium 10 GB to 500 GB of data, mid-range. If you are working with greater than 500 GB, high-end instances. So based on our data size also, the selection will be affecting. And cost budget. So if you select a higher specifications processor, it will cost very high. Okay. So based on your data size and your job type, you have to select the respective worker type. Okay. And here, so the next one is auto scaling. So what is auto scaling? So we discussed, right? Auto scaling is you can enable auto scaling. Databricks will automatically add or remove workers based on the workload. We studied, right? What is auto scaling? If our task need more number of workers or virtual machines, the Databricks will automatically add those workers. Okay, if I have selected 5 workers, but only 2 workers are enough. Workers means here virtual nodes or processors. If 2 processors are enough for my task, it will automatically remove the extra workers that I have selected. That is called auto scaling. It will adjust our workers based on the task we are performing. So that auto scaling, we have a selection operation here. Like I can select if auto scaling I want to enable. I have selected it. And minimum and maximum nodes. So here we can give minimum or maximum nodes. So I'll perform a task. I'll give at least minimum 2 workers should be used, and maximum of 8 workers to be used. This is our selection. Like whatever one we can give. I want only 1 worker should be used. I can select like single node. So only 1 processor will be used. But here I'll avoid selecting this. So all these tags are optional, and we can ignore all this. So here the main task is your selection of this Databricks runtime. It will be selected by default. Selection of worker type decides our cost and our performance of our task. Okay. So based on that, we have to decide this worker type. So now I'll click on the create button. So it is creating, we need to wait. Here it is showing the loading symbol, right? We'll wait. So now the cluster is created. So once we get start and edit option, it means the cluster is created. But here it is showing some symbol, right? Because like our plan is like the limited, like standard plan, right? We are not using premium. So it is showing this icon. So ignore for that. Now, like ignore it now. So in this way, we have created the cluster. Now we'll create the notebook. So here if you see when we click on plus, we'll get the notebook option. We'll click on the notebook. So here if you see, I'm able to see the cells, right? Notebook. This is my notebook, similar to the Jupyter notebook. So here we have an option called language selection. So here I can select SQL, Scala or anything. By default, Python is selected. So by default, this notebook can execute the Python code. Here also, if you see, here also we have the drop down for selection. So Python is selected by default. So if I change to SQL, so here if you see, by default they are giving %SQL. So this also we discussed. In the notebook, if you want to execute SQL or Java, we have to use these magical commands. By default, they have given this. We can also write manually. So SQL R. So if you say %R. So only Python is by default selected. So here it's a name for a notebook. We can change these names, and we can write our.
At a time, we can only write only one language in one file.
No, we can write multiple languages here. But as we are using this like a basic one, right? So like here now the thing is like we can write any code, but we cannot execute it because our subscription is a basic one. I'm trying to get the premium subscription. So once I get that, I'll show you how to execute different kind of codes, Python or SQL, anything. I'll show you that. So now we can write the code, but we cannot execute this one. So here if you are trying to execute, first it will ask us to select the cluster. So just now we created this cluster, right? So it is selected by default. I'll start and attach and run. So when you write any code and try to execute, you should be having a cluster because this cluster will execute that code, right? So it is asking for cluster selection. I'll click on start and attach. So here if you see, it is trying to connect, starting. So finding instances for new node. So as per my option, like it will not execute because like we are using a basic one. We'll see what will happen. So here if you see the thing, shift enter to run and move to the next cell. Almost similar to Jupyter only. The extra feature is running off like different programs. We'll try like because it will take some time. Starting a cluster again, it will take some time. So similar to Databricks workspace creation, this cluster starting also may take around 5 to 15 minutes. So nothing new, everything whatever we have discussed till date in Jupyter Notebook, all that can be performed here. That's all. So once if a cluster is started running, we can run any number of notebooks. Only for the first time when we are running, it will take some time. So once it is in running state, once the cluster is in running state, we can write any new Python. We can create any new notebook and we can execute our code.
యాక్చువల్లీ ఐ మీన్ ఈ ఇంటర్ప్రిటర్ స్లో ఉంటుందా లైక్
లేదు అంటే ఇప్పుడు క్లస్టర్ రన్ చేయాలంటే లైక్ మల్టిపుల్ యూజర్స్ అజూర్ ఈ డేటాబ్రిక్స్ యూజ్ చేస్తుంటారు కదా. సో ఆ క్లస్టర్స్ ఆ రీజియన్ లో వర్క్ అవ్వాలంటే సో టైం పడుతుంది బేస్డ్ ఆన్ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ యూజర్స్, బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ది ప్రాసెసర్స్. సో అవన్నీ కన్సిడర్ చేసుకుని టైం పడుతుంది. సో ఇది ఇప్పుడు ఈ టైం ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ రన్ చేయడానికి ఈ టైం కాదు, క్లస్టర్ స్టార్ట్ చేయడానికి ఈ టైం పడుతుంది. సో వన్స్ క్లస్టర్ రన్ అవుతుంది ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఫాస్ట్ గా రన్ అవుతుంది. మనం ఇక్కడ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లోకి వచ్చాక క్లస్టర్ స్టార్ట్ చేసాం కదా, అలా చేయకుండా మనం ముందే కంప్యూటర్కి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ క్లస్టర్ స్టార్ట్ చేసి తర్వాత ప్రోగ్రామ్ రాయొచ్చు కదా. మనం డైరెక్ట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్కి వచ్చాం కాబట్టి మనం ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ రన్ అవ్వడానికి టైం పడుతుంది అనుకుంటాం, బట్ క్లస్టర్ రన్ అవ్వడానికి టైం పడుతుంది.
ఓకే.
యాక్చువల్లీ ఇప్పుడు ఈ క్లస్టర్ నాకు తెలిసినంత వరకు ఇది వర్క్ అవ్వదు. ఇట్ విల్ త్రో అన్ ఎర్రర్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ లిమిటెడ్ పర్మిషన్స్ ఫర్ us.
ఇంత టైం తీసుకుంటుంది కిషోర్.
ఇది అదే లైక్ చెప్పాను లైక్ 5 to 15 minutes. అండ్ ఇంకోటి అంటే మనది లిమిటెడ్ కాబట్టి ఇంకా ఎక్కువ టైం కూడా తీసుకోవచ్చు, బట్ ఇది వర్క్ అవుతుంది. యాక్చువల్లీ వీ కెన్ స్టాప్ ఇట్ బికాస్ లైక్ ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ వర్క్. We cannot start the cluster, we can stop it. After 10-15 minutes it will show just error message, unable to start the cluster. It will show that error message, you can stop it. Okay, I'm trying to get the premium version. Once I get, I'll explain you how to, like the code is same, just we'll paste that, like whatever we have done in Jupyter Notebook, we'll write that code here and we'll click execute, that's all. We'll see the output here, that is the difference. Everything is same. Okay, so that's all. Like so majorly interview questions will be on this, like what is Databricks Workspace. Theory wise they will not ask us to execute programs in this notebook. They might ask us to write in online compilers. So they'll ask interview questions like what is a workspace, what is a cluster, like what are the key factors to select this worker type in the cluster? What is a worker type?
దీనికి ట్రయల్ వర్షన్ కూడా ఏముండదా?
ట్రయల్ వర్షన్